Hello, lovely people. Let's spill some tea. In this video, I'll be talking about 6 major red flags to look for as a creative before starting a project with a potential client or customer. Whether you're an artist, designer, freelancer, small business owner, or working at an agency, these are major red flags to look for before you take the plunge. Red flag number 1. Test or sample projects with no pay. If a company or potential client or customer reaches out and says, well, we really like your work, but we want to make sure you're the best fit. Here's a test project. It's not paid, but we just want to make sure that we're a good fit. That is usually, not always, but usually a major red flag. And sometimes this company or potential client or customer can end up using your work without your consent. And there have been cases where creatives have been burned by this and mentioned it in different creative forums. So this is something to look out for. Red flag number 2, offering your services or work for exposure. If a company or potential client or customer reaches out and ask for your services or your work in exchange for their exposure, that is usually a large red flag. Unless they're Good Morning America or Oprah, it's highly likely that their version of exposure will not lead to anything, and your time and effort is usually better spent pursuing possible paid work and clients. And if it was Oprah or Good Morning America, they would have the budget and the ability to pay you for your work. Red flag number 3, comparisons. If your potential customer or client starts comparing you, your work, or your rates to someone else or a different company, that is usually a big red flag. If they say things like, why is your painting $200 when I can get something similar at Walmart or IKEA for $20? Or, well, this designer or this company is offering similar services to yours for half your price. That's usually a red flag. You don't want to be in a situation where you're having to defend or persuade the client or customer of your expertise and the value of your work, especially as you're working on a project. So you want to keep this in mind. And this is very different from giving a breakdown of your estimate or explaining the process to the client. But if they're in a mindset where they feel that what you're offering is not of value, then that is not a good starting point for you or the client. Red flag number 4, indecisiveness, unresponsiveness, or ambiguity. Any or all 3 of those are big red flags. You don't want to be in a feedback loop with a client of endless revisions because the client doesn't know what they want or they can't make up their mind. Or you don't want to be chasing a client for a reply to every email or phone call because that will detract from the actual work. So this is something to keep in mind. It is very possible to mitigate these things by setting clear expectations and having very open, candid discussions and having a detailed contract. But otherwise, this will be an issue down the line if you're working with the client or customer. Flag number 5, micromanaging. On the other extreme, if your client or customer is micromanaging and constantly questioning your decisions and every move, that can cause major problems. So it's very important to recognize this. A lot of these flags you can see in your conversation and correspondence with your potential customer or client. And it's very important to address this before starting any formal relationships with the client or customer and the actual work. Red flag number 6, scope creep. Last but not least, this is one of the major common issues, especially working with a design project. I think less so with artists, but it's very common for a project to evolve into something much larger or different than what it originally started off with, and that's totally fine. as long as you have a discussion and set expectations with the client from the start before the project began. So if you talk about the project being one thing with the potential client or customer, and they want to add 5 other things without increasing their budget or timeline, that will be an issue. So you need to come to an agreement and make sure everyone's on the same page before actually starting. And this will save you and the client or customer a lot of stress and heartache. So those are 6 major red flags to look for as a creative before starting a working relationship or project with a customer or client. Have you experienced any or all of these 6 red flags? If so, please comment below. Or do you feel there are other red flags to watch out for? And please share that in the comments as well. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, keep creating.